Clicker training for horses has been growing in popularity, you little trendsetter. What are the pros and cons of it? Is it a more humane way to train horses?
Clicker training, I thought no one was ever going to ask, and so I have a prop here. It's my clicker, and I used it earlier on Sarah.
I appreciated it.
The important thing is to know that the clicker is not a cue. I think people are confused about that. So there's three names that pop into my head when I think about clicker training. It's been around for horses since the mid-90s, and it was Shauna Karish was the first one that I knew about. She actually got her start with marine mammals.
Oh.
And then Alexandra Kurland is one, and then the last one is Karen Pryor. So those are all good names. If you're going to try this, you need training yourself or a resource. Because one of the cons I've found is that if the human is not clear in their own head what they're doing, then the animal is not going to be clear either.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about this is it's a tool for positive reinforcement. When there's a pro, that's very attractive to people. We're finding more and more that negative reinforcement is not the best way to train animals or husbands. It's positive reinforcement.
Do you want to take a minute and explain the difference, not between horses and husbands, but between positive and negative reinforcement?
Like the clicker is positive reinforcement because it's when the animal does something, a desired behavior, you click, and then the click is timed immediately with the desired behavior. That's why this tool is so important. Now I can fumble and fish around and get the treat, because with this sound, which is a very distinctive sound, it can be any sound. But this they've never heard before, so it's easy to associate this with, that was the right thing, now let me find where did I put my treats.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you can not take your time, but you don't have to be as quick with the actual giving of the treat if you've used the signal to indicate that was right.
So positive reinforcement is recognizing the right behavior. Negative reinforcement is correcting the wrong behavior.
Exactly.
And so we're leaning towards positive.
Yeah, behaviorists now say, you know, animals learn better, quicker, and retain more when you use positive reinforcement. So
it makes sense, because that is what's right. All you know with negative reinforcement is this is not the right thing.
Don't do that,
Something
don't
else
do that,
is
don't
right.
do it. And the horse has to keep, there's a question been asked, and they have to keep seeking out answers.
Maybe the answer is this.
Yeah, nope, no, it wasn't that. And maybe it's this, nope, wasn't that. But with this tool, when I ask the question and they give an answer and I go, yep, that was the answer. And so click and treat has been the term that's been used, and I use click and prune because with Newman. So the nice thing about this, so here's another.
She feeds him prunes. She doesn't prune him with pruning shears. He does not find that rewarding.
Although I use this for mane pulling.
I know.
Yeah, yeah. And also to get him to drink water.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's two examples of, here's back on the pro list. Clicker training can be used to teach a good habit or skill or behavior, or discourage or remove a bad habit. So if you've got a horse who kicks or bites or doesn't trailer load or moves away from the mounting block, all things we would consider negative, you can clicker train. On the other hand, if you want a horse to do some positive behavior like drink water, you can also clicker train. So it doesn't have to be either a good behavior or not a good behavior. It can be anything. The sky's the limit. And cons are, I think people think that, oh, clicker training causes horses to mug you for treats. Quite the opposite. In fact,
do your horses not do that already?
You can clicker train horses to not mug you for treats.
Oh.
Because you can teach them, if I don't give you a cue to come wherever my treats are in my pocket, then you don't, because you're not going to get rewarded until this thing makes a noise. So with a horse that was really pushy about that, Shauna tells a story where she went to the farm, and you have to associate the click with the treat, and then they begin to seek out what do you want, so that you push the button and I get a reward. And every time he looked and went away from her, she clicked, gave him a treat. So he was like, oh, the farther I stand away from you, the better it is for me. And he got that in less than 5 minutes.
Wow.
So in less than 5 minutes, she removed the mugging for treats problem.
That's fantastic.
She's like, next problem,
On the other cons, you mentioned an interesting thing before we started filming, which was you clicked it out in the office, and at SmartPak we have like 50 dogs, 60 dogs that come to work every day. And she saw some gopher heads pop up. And what?
Yeah.
And so is there ever a problem if you're using it in the barn, if other horses in the barn are clicker trained? Like, do you try to be not near where those horses are? Do you try to do it more as like a solo activity? Have you encountered that at all? Does anybody else at your barn do it?
Not encountered it, only because there's so few people around me that I know that are clicker training. When I did it at the rescue that I worked at, I would take the horse to a specific location for the training, and it was partly to get away from other horses, but it was partly for them to associate, this is an area of learning. So,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
But I love it.